the, the things that he proposed during his campaign. And this ordeal with the Obamacare, you can't blame that on Trump because Trump won the White House, and he had listened to Republicans for 7 years say they wanted to repeal Obamacare.
Okay.
So he gave them the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, and they are the ones who would live up to the 60 times that they voted to repeal the law.
President cannot make any laws. He can just sign them.
No, but I understand what you're saying. In fact, Senator Toomey, who's a Republican, okay, said, and he's on the record for saying this, nobody expected Trump to win because they kept saying, as you just said, and as the press says, they've had 7 years to promise to repeal and replace or do something to Obamacare. They hadn't done anything. Nobody expected Trump to win. So they really didn't put together any package at all. And he, of course, said, from day one, which we all knew couldn't be done right away. But they really had no idea where to start.
Well, they voted so many times to repeal it.
Yeah, but each time they were voted down. They couldn't. They couldn't repeal it.
Because the president would always veto it, no matter what.
Well, he would have vetoed it, and then they wouldn't have enough to override the veto.
Of course, but now that they have enough to get it.
In all honesty, look, Obamacare did a lot of good for a lot of people. But even Obama said before he left office that Obamacare has to be fixed. Okay, they have to put work into it, figure out a way to have exchanges, try to lower the cost of
It has to be replaced.
The deductibles, and the Republican Party was set on repeal and replace. They didn't want, and that was the one thing that Democrats said they really didn't want to do. They didn't want to. They didn't want to repeal and replace. They wanted to fix it, and it became a problem with semantics. It's all language. They've been stalling on all this simply for language. All right, because the Republicans insisted on repeal and replace, and the Democrats said, "Well, if you take that off the table, we'll work with you." And that's when Leader McConnell said, "We don't want you to work with us."
Well, I'm gonna say this: they can repeal and replace it if they want, or they can fix it. I'm sorry, but the mandate has to go. The federal government has no business mandating the United States citizens to get involved in something that they otherwise would not get involved with. That is a terrible thing to put on the backs of young people who are trying to raise a family, or go to school, pay for their education, or buy a home. And they have to be faced with this, what Obama labeled
Well, I tell you what.
Citizen responsibility. No, it's not responsibility. American citizens deserve their liberty to choose what they want to get involved with and what they don't.
I'll agree with you there. It shouldn't be a mandate. You're right, because first of all, young people don't project ahead into the future. I remember when Obamacare first came out, Michelle Obama said, "What the young people should do is think, God forbid, what would happen if I got into a car accident or I got very sick and I couldn't pay the bill and I went into debt simply because of medical expenses." Okay, but the bottom line is, look, you were young once, I was young once. Not everybody thinks along those lines. Okay, you don't think about getting sick, you don't think about getting into an accident. So you're right. And besides, a lot of the young people, especially those who went to college, are busy paying off college loans. It's hard enough to pay off college loans, let alone having insurance taken out of your salary every week. You have to write a check once a month to an insurance company.
besides, you do like our listener Ed does. Just go to the hospital right through the ER, get operated on all for free.
That's true. We used to have a listener from the Tampa, Orlando area, and he said he just goes to the clinic, and they have to treat him. He doesn't have to pay the bill. Unfortunately, there are too many people who think that way, because what happens then, it's you and I that have to pay for it.
Bottom line, we always pay for it.
Well, it's true. Because if they don't pay, your insurance premiums go up.
And to say that people don't have access to medical care, I stay here in the St. Louis area,
Mm-hmm.
and we have comprehensive health facilities practically on every other corner. And when you go there, you pay accordingly on a sliding scale. And you may be able to see the doctor for as cheap as $10 or $20. So we'll use this excuse and saying that 22 million, then 32 million. And the reason why that number has gotten so large is because Obama cleverly increased the threshold for the poverty rating. It is now over $30,000, which also includes able-bodied men.
Yeah.
Well, I know that in the third year, which it was really this year, of Obamacare, everything was going up tremendously. Okay, that's why it had to be worked on to try to come to some agreement, and they just let it languish. I mean, Trump said, let it fail. Obamacare is failing. He could have done something if he wanted to. The Republicans could have done something if they wanted to. But you had senators like Rand Paul and Mike Lee, who are staunch, what are they?
The conservatives.
Well, not only conservatives, they are, I forgot the term. I apologize. That's what, it's a senior moment. I apologize for that. But there was no satisfying them. And you had Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski, who are more liberal, okay, in the Republican Party. And for their constituents, they didn't want to vote for the policy either because it was hurting their people. And the bottom line is, in the end, you know, every senator, like every congressman, is responsible for the people who sent them to the Congress.
And they always send them back anyway.
Well, all I know is medical care. We live in New York. Medical care in New York is like very expensive. And you would expect that it would be expensive.
New York also has probably some of the best medical care for your money.
Do.
No, not as far as quality. I'm talking about if you are low paid employee, you can forget about Obamacare. There's so many other benefits you can get besides Obamacare. People in New York are pretty lucky. They pay a lot of taxes and they get pretty good benefits. Before Obamacare, New York State had better plans for the poor people.
Well, that's, if you listen to some of the senators, I mean, at least one senator who was interviewed on one of the evening talk shows said that he would like to go back to the way it was before Obamacare. He said where everybody was able to get their own insurance.
At affordable rates.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Obamacare ruined it, really, by trying to give.
Well, the thing is that if you got this mandate on this particular item, what's next? And isn't it quite funny, too, that you have these sanctuary cities that won't heed to the federal government's request for them to comply as far as it concerns illegals. But they want American citizens to comply with this mandate. It doesn't make any sense. It's contrary to popular. I mean, it's really silly.
But is it is it right for somebody like Attorney General Sessions to say, if you're a sanctuary city and you're not in compliance with government rules, we're not going to give you the money that we gave you last year? Okay?
Absolutely, it is right. You remember when we had the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and states that would not comply would not receive any transportation funds from the federal government?
It must have been a long time ago, because I remember the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit almost like forever.
No, it's not that long ago. It's probably, I would say, the 70s.
Well, that's 40 years ago.
That's nothing.
Did not the federal government tell public school districts, if you did not make way for transgender students, you would lose the Department of Education funding?
Well, but the transgender issue had to do with a civil right. I mean, the government can't tell a student what sex they are. And the thing is, it's at younger ages, children are coming to the realization that they were born in the wrong sex.
What we're saying is, it doesn't matter. The government doesn't have the right to take away money, or doesn't it? And if it does, it has the right to take it from wherever people are breaking the law or doing things wrong, not just pick and choose.
The government is not trying to tell people. And I'm sorry if I cut over somebody. This connection is really bad.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody who's in the chat room told us the same thing, and we're sorry for that.
But as I was getting ready to say, the government is not trying to tell people what sex they are. And just like I don't think that a person who can wake up in the morning and be a male, and at 12 noon they consider themselves a female and want to use the female facilities in a high school with an athletic team.
Well, there are a lot of rules that have to be followed before, I believe, a psychiatrist will sign off on a sex change operation. And I'm sure for a lot of the people, a lot of the young people who really, I mean, is this a question that you could bring up to your mother and father, okay, and say, I'm a boy, but I really feel like a girl. I want to wear dresses. I want to play with dolls. Okay, who do they go to? Well, obviously, they go to their parents, and many of the parents really aren't fit to handle something like that. So they have to go to a professional, and the child has to get counseling, and they have special counselors for that. Okay, and
who's going to pay for that?
Well, no, the parents pay for it.
Where are they going to get the money? They don't have medical insurance these days. I'm
just saying that the government doesn't pay for that. The problem came in last week when Trump said for the transgendered soldiers in the armed forces, the complaint came in that the government didn't want to pay for the operations involved.
Mm-hmm.
For men or women to transition to the other sex.
Very expensive.
Okay. And all that started with Bradley Manning when he became Chelsea Manning, the one who released all of those secrets, the WikiLeaks. Okay. But by the same token, they had also on the evening news shows, they had soldiers who had already exited from the service and didn't have their transitions until afterwards because they didn't want the government to pay for it. Plus, they also didn't want to put up with the harassment that they would have been faced with had they had it done while they were still in the service.
Well, to me, I don't see how the government is responsible to pay for it.
Well, if you're a soldier